This Daf Yerushalmi Shekalim. In the article Ozvar edition, we're on Daf Yud Dalet Amud Aleph, and we're up to Ma'avalei. In the article, it says here in parentheses, Rabbi Shimon Lakish and Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Elazar in brackets, which is the fourth line down, and in the Yerushalmi, the Vilna Yerushalmi, that is towards the end of Tes Amud Aleph. In the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi, that is a little bit hard to find. It's on Vav Amud Aleph. If you look at the Tachlin Chadatin, line above the Tachlin Chadatin, it is about 4 lines above that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. Ma'avalei Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Elazar. They just say on the side says Shimon Lakish. It's a different nuscha, but in the text itself it says just Ma'avalei Rabbi Yosef B'Shem Rabbi Elazar. Okay, so this going back on Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon, we learned yesterday on the Gimel Beis, had said that Ma'amin Shkolim Chatos, Shkolim Yeshem Kitzur, Chatos Ein Lo Kitzvah. Said Shkolim Chatos, the difference is that one has kitzvah and one doesn't have a kitzvah. And the Gemara had said that, had discussed this and tried to understand why and what's the nafkamina. And the Gemara had assumed, well, the nafkamina must be that in terms of the Mosar, whether the Mosar is Chulin or Nedava. And it must be that by Chatos, the Mosar is Nedava, but by Shkolim, the Mosar, if there's leftover, then it is Chulin, which works out well according to Bibi named Rabbi Elazar. But Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Elazar, so if the Mosar should be Nedava by Shkolim. So the question is, how does he understand Rabbi Shimon? And what I'd say yesterday, we'll talk about a case of Elu, and that's where the mafchalikus is between Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Bibi. But what I'm saying, that's clearly not going to work out according to Rabbi Yossi, because according to Rabbi Yossi, it should be Nedava in both cases. So which case, according to Rabbi Shimon, would by Shkolim be Chulin? So the Gemara says, you're right, it can't be done by Elu, according to Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Elazar. Rather, Ma'avalei Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Elazar, Patzal Mechanis Protot K'Beisel. It's about a case where you took coin by coin by coin, and even he holds in that case that the Mosar is Chulin, because anything above the proper shear for Shkolim was a mistake, and therefore it's not according to B'Shamai Hektish Toz Hektish. Anyway, according to Beis Hillel, once you reach the proper amount, when you took coin by coin by coin, put in the kushka, once you put the proper amount, that's it. Those are that's the matzah shekel. The rest of it is Chulin. So that's the case in which Rabbi Shimon's going to make an afkina between Mosar Chatas, which has no shear, and Mosar Shkolim, which does have a shear. Okay, the Vatninon, it's a similar question. Mosar Shkolim Chulin, and it seems that is generic. It's not talking about a case of protro. It just says Mosar Shkolim is Chulin. It's difficult on Rabbi Yosef, the name Rabbi Elazar, who said that Mosar Shkolim is Nedava. So again, he says Pasal Mechanis Protro Beis Hillel. Same principle, right? You're taking coin by coin by coin, and like Beis Hillel in that case, again, the extra is not considered to be hektish, considered to be chulin, even according to Rabbi Yossi and the name of Rabbi Elazar. Same Rabbi Yossi Elazar holds by Elu that Mosar is Nedava. By Mechanis Protrot, he also agrees that Mosar is chulin. Okay, now Gemara goes on to the new case. It has first parentheses, but most of the version don't learn that parentheses. But Mosar Asir if a chulin or the pasuk mechayis protrot Beis Hillel. Let's take it out. I'm not sure the Vilna if it appears. 1 second. Yes, it is in the Vilna, but also in parentheses, so we will skip it. Evidently, it's not in the parallel sugya nazir. Amafi shiklo v'tzavashu chayiv. Somebody who set aside a shekel because he thought he was chayiv. Turns out, whoops, I already gave a shekel this year. He's not chayiv. Low kaddish. It's not kaddish because according to Beis Hillel, hektish tos lash mehektish. According to Beis Shammai, of course, hektish tos mehektish, but not according to Beis Hillel. But what about marfish naim? V'tzavashu chayiv naim. You set aside 2, and you thought you were chayiv 2, and evidently, as the Pnei Moshe says, you thought you had not given the previous year, and turned out that you had given the previous year. So only chayiv this year shekel. So you throw your chayiv shtayim. Nitza ein chayiv ela echad. Then you've only chayiv one. Ozer sheni ma overlay. What do you do with the second shekel? So the Taka Khadi explains what's the question here. The Nimshei Chayav Lo Kaddish, that was the first case where we made a mistake on one, came into the Shem Shekel Ein Echol Klal. There in the first case, this Shem Shekel doesn't take the Baal at all. Pshita on the Lo Kaddish. It's obviously it's not Kaddish. Kiko Mibal Hechel Depish 9. A question where he says it's like 2. She'en Nimshei Chayav El Achas, and you only Chayav 1 in the end. Came the Krachas Shem Shekel Chal Achas Mem. The Shem Shekel Chalesh Shem Shekel. It's on at least one of them. So therefore, what's with the second one? So there's a Chalesh here. So this is not the brisker chalais. It took effect. So since it took effect, what's the second one? So the Gemara says, Nishmina min hado. Let's start following case. And here again, there's parentheses. Let's check the Vilna. It's also parentheses. It doesn't even appear in the Vilna. Okay. Hifrish chatlaso. So besides chatlas, Sabashu chayev. Because he thought he's chayav chatas. Nimtza sheinu chayav. It turns out he's not chayav. Lo kodsha. It's not chayav. Not kodesh. Hifrish time. Where he says it's 2. V'savashu chayav shtayim because you thought you were chayav 2 chatos. Sheinu chayav el achas. And it turned out you only chayav 1 chatos. So also Shema overlay. What do you do with that second one? So the Gra here changes the girsa, and we'll go with the Gra's girsa, which Reb Chaim also uses. So the girsa of the Gra here is let me read that again from the beginning. Also Shem, well, not beginning. Also Shem overlay. What do you do with the second one? So it's roa, right? Also Shem overlay ela roa. So hacha my at overlay. Here, what do you do with it? Command mar elu nadava hacha nami elu nadava. Command mar chulin hacha nami lechulin. So now Reb Chaim says that the command armor, this command armor that is going to be Shammai Basila, but I think it's going on Rabbi Yosef named Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Bibi named Rabbi Elazar. So according to that, and we're saying that by the chatos, so the second chatos, which you were not chayiv in, is roya, right? So the question is here, when you set aside these 2 shkolim, what happens to the second shekel? So the first shekel definitely is kodesh. What does that mean? The second shekel. So the Kamai Command Amar, where you say Elu Shkolai, that the second shekel is chulin, which is Rabbi Bibi named Rabbi Elazar. So here too, the second shekel would be chulin, right? Like because it was superfluous, right, and unnecessary, wrong. Obviously, going to Beisol, it's Hektish according to Mandam, but you said, since you said it's like together, since it's like Elu, according to Mandam, that's like Nadava, which is Rabbi Yosef named Rabbi Lazar, here too, it would be a Nadava as well. Okay, so that is, again to the Gears of the Gra. There are all sorts of other Gearsos and all sorts of other Perushim, but the Gra and Reb Chaim, that's the way we're going to go. Okay, so the Mishnah had said, when Shaul Yisrael min HaGoyel, when Am Yisrael came up from the Golus, Hayu Shulchin Darkonos. Darkonos are dinarim. 2 dinar, and we had 2 pshatim in the Mishnah, whether they took half of that, or that was what they took, a full amount of, a half a darkon, or a full darkon. Chozish ko sloim. Then they went back to the sloim, which are kishmon. That is a sloim are coin which they're familiar with. Darkonos, we had it, unfortunately, whether it's a cell and a half or 2 slime, but in any event, that was a dinner, and this is a sella is a coin which I guess they were more familiar with. The Chaim says here, Darkonos are dinare zav, which are dinar gold dinar, which is 25 silver dinar, and slime is kishmon, and then the Chazish go timin, and then they will start giving timin, which is palgisilin, half a seller, which is the proper share. Bikshu lishko dinarim. Then they wanted to give dinarim, which are krotin, and krotin, I guess, is related to the word quarter, because it's as the the unfortunately say it's a Revia Sela. So Kratin, pretty sure, quarter, right? So that's what they want to do next. Put it down to a quarter, which is half of a Machzis shekel. And on that, look, they did not accept that. That they said no. Min hada. And how do we know they didn't accept that? It's a question. What does min hada mean? What's it going on here? So the many Pirushim, what this means. So according to Korban 8 in our Mishnah, who said that a darkon is a cell and a half. So the minhada means we decided we're going to give a third of what we originally gave. The third originally gave a full darkon, which is a cell and a half. Now we're saying no, only going to give a third of that, but a third of a cell and a half is a machzis shekel, right? Half a cell. So that's the raya. According to Moshe, who said in the Mishnah that he gave the darkon is two slime, and they gave half of that, which is a full selah. So then the third doesn't work out that way. So the Pnei Moshe says, since we see they put it on themselves a separate mitzvah, the shlishi shekel, whatever that shlishi shekel is, that so that is a separate mitzvah they gave themselves, and it must be they didn't detract from the real mitzvah machzis shekel, but they tacked on an additional amount. They said, okay, we're not going to give the what we gave originally. We're going to say change the shear, but we're going to machzis shekel, and we're going to give an additional shlishi shekel every year. And that's another shot. According to the third shot, the Marav Hulda, and many other shots besides the three I'm giving you. Many other pshatim, but he says Chaim is a different shot. So the Talmud says a different shot. But in any event, he says that the machzis shekel it could be divided up into 6 garmesin, 10 gera or 6 garmasin, according to a different count. So he gave it 3 times a year. Shlish shekel means they gave the machzis shekel in 3 shots, 3 installments. 2 garmisin, 2 garmisin, 2 garmisin. So that, but they used to give it full machzis shekel. Okay, so in any event, from one of these or some other shot, that's the reason. That's how we know that they didn't go lower machzis shekel. But it's based on lokenu, because a third of a darkon, or because they gave themselves an additional mitzvah, or because they did install a plan of 2 garmisin, or any other shot, which unfortunately say. Now, but we see here that. So according to Marafulta, it's kipshuta, right? You have to give a machzis, you buy the machzis shekel over 3 installments. But it seems like it's most of the Farshim learn that it's talking about the mitzvah tzedakah. And mitzvah tzedakah is that, as the Talmud Chazin says, Milok siv shlish shekel b'shona, then say third shekel. It says here shlishis, right? I guess it's like shlishis. Milok siv shlish shekel b'shona. What does it say in the pasuk? Shlish. I'm not sure exactly. I see that from the language. Anyway, but he says it's v'lav shumashkoli mari elabinian tzedakah. Okay, the terms of tzedakah, and the local Rabbi Yassi, Don Perakam Babasa, Tap Tesnav, he learns it argues on the Bavli, who says Olam Amin al some shlish shekel b'shana, danu shlish echad mishekel chol shana. Now, not like the opinion Bavli, which says the mitzvah, a minimum mitzvah of tzedakah in a year is a third of a shekel. He's saying differently. He's saying you should give 3 times a year, opposed to Shlishis HaShekel. So, and he's actually his pasuk. I guess since it says, now I understand what Katak is saying. Since it says mitzvah says Shlishis HaShekel, not Shlish Shekel, says Shlishis means we gave a third 3 times a year, right? Shlish HaShekel. But it was really like we gave a whole shekel, but in 3 times, and that's shlishis as opposed to a shlish shekel, a third of a shekel. Okay, so in any event, it says it's interesting this idea that it argues on a different shot than the Bavli. that which says that that's the shear. He's saying no, it's the amount of times you give. But the flip side is you don't make more than 3 appeals a year, right? Kolidri appeal and Yisker appeal. I think we make 4. The shuls customarily make 4 appeals a year, right? The Kolidri and the Yisker appeal. So theoretically, 3 times a year, the 3 Yisker appeals. Okay, so the Avin Mikan L'Shol Sin. From here, we also, since we go to in 3s, we learned that the kupos were, each one had 3 se'im when they used to take the buckets in order to bring up the shkolim. Each kupo was 3 se'im. And l'shalosh kupos, from here we learned that there are 3 buckets. Each one is 3 sa'ah. There are 3 buckets. This is all going to be in a Mishnah later on. We're going to learn about the Truma Salishka. Mikan L'Shalosh Afroshos. And here we see that we do it 3 times, the Truma Salishka. Everything's in 3s. Okay. Siv, it says about the Machzis Shekel. Zay Nu Kol V'Rabkudim. Anybody who comes to be counted gives the Machzis Shekel. So, Rabbi Nechemia, Chad Amar Lefi Shechotu B'Machzis Hayoim. Because they Chayte in Machzis Hayom, when Moshe Rabbeinu did not come down halfway through the day, so therefore they made then the Egel Azov. It says the Shinim Beperek Rabbi Akiva Ba in the Bavli Ba Sheish. That 6 hours came, Ba Sheish, and he didn't come. So therefore they make Machzis Shekel. Chanamav says Pisha Chatu b'Sheish Sha'os, since they're chayte in 6 hours, which is really the same thing. You knew, as we said before, Machzis Shekel to Avid Shita Garmisin, which is 6 Garmisin, as we mentioned for my name Marafulda, so divided actually into 6. I'm sure Ben Nechemia, Nechemia Yochanan Ben Zachar say Bisha Avra Aser Sadibros. You'll notice they call Echad ve'Echad Asara Gera, because it says Aseres Gera, which he said again, it's either 6 Garmisen or 10 Gera. Right, Brachia and Ray Lev Shem Shem Lokashem Fisha Machru B'Chora Shel Rachel B'Esrim Kesef. They sold Yosef, the Shvatim, sold him into captivity for 20 Kesef. Yaakov Echad Peides B'No B'Chora B'Esrim Kesef. Therefore, each by Pina Ben, we give 5 slime, which is equivalent of 20 silver coins. Obviously, it's a different coin. Dinarim, right? It says the seller are bar dinarim. V'hainu Pina Ben B'chor Chamei slime. So that's the Pina B'chor because they sold B'chor of Rachel, which is Yosef. Right, Pinchas Shem Rabbi Levi said, and this relates it back to our sugya, since they sold Yosef for 20 kesef, and only 10 of them, 10 brothers, because Binyamin wasn't there. Each one of them got teva. Now teva says the Karban Eda means shnei dinarim. That's teva is 2 dinarim, which is chatzi sela. So Binyamin because Binyamin was not with them. Therefore, everybody has to give a machzis shekel, because the machzis shekel is what each one of the brothers got from the sale of Yosef. So therefore, as kapara, one gives a machzis shekel to Hekdesh every year. Okay, says the Mishnah. We quoted this earlier today. Moser shkolim chulin. In whichever way it works, right? With the machlis protrot, elu, depending on which Rabbi Yosef belongs, the name Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi name Rabbi Lazar, the excess of shkolim is chulin. Most of the sa'efa, the leftover from asiri sa'efa, the Gemara is going to speak about, but the Pnei Moshe says of a minchas chayte, which comes when a person is extremely impoverished. He brings an asir saifa of flour. So if there's extra funds left over, so from that, or Mosar Kine Zavim, Kine Zavos, Kine Yoldos, as left over from what he allocated in order to buy a set of birds for a Zav or Yoletis. Chatos Hashamas is left over funds from what you allocated for Chatos or Osham. Mosar Nedava. Then whatever is left over is a Nedava. Zakal, the general principle. Kol Shubal Hashem Chet, Mishum Ashma, anything which comes from on account of a sin or some other guilt offering. Mosar Nedava, whatever is the extra funds go to Nedava. Mosar Ola La Ola, the extra from an Ola goes to an Ola. Mosar Mincha La Mincha, the extra from Mincha goes to Mincha. Mosar Shlami La Shlami, the extra from Shlami goes to Shlami. Mosar Pesach, we have 11 funds from a Pesach, which of course comes at other times of years of Shlamim. Then that goes for Shlamim as well. Mosar Pesach Li Shlamim. A lot of pages to turn here. Mosar Nazirim Li Nazirim. If they collect money for the Karbanos Nazirim and there's extra money, then that goes to the extra to other Nazirim. But most of Nazir is a specific Nazir, right? And it wasn't a collection for lots of Nazirim, but a collection for a specific Nazir. So then whatever's left over, similar to what you said before about Chatzah Osham, goes le nedava. And that brings us to the top of Tezvav Amarav, so we'll stop here for today.